We're back for another episode of Untangling Life. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Yim, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Hattie Willis. Pleasure to be here.
And Hattie, today we are speaking about a subject that's making both of us smile, even though that wasn't always the situation.
It doesn't always make me smile, but I feel passionate about it.
But financial freedom and money mindset that we always hear on socials. Yeah. Let's untangle that today.
I think it's a topic we both feel so passionate about because it really mirrors to what we've chosen. But before we talk about what it means to us, let's go to some street interviews and hear what it means to everyone else.
Let's go.
What does financial freedom mean to you?
Not being worried if something big breaks, like my boiler.
Making choices instead of reacting. For example, I'm a freelancer, so being able to do work I like rather than whatever pays quickest.
Not checking my bank account before agreeing to plans.
Being able to go on holiday or take time off work without guilt.
Andy, what stuck out most to you there?
This relationship of how money and a lack of money can influence your ability to make decisions for your life. And it can also paralyze you and make you feel like I can't take a step forward and have this holiday or treat myself because I haven't got the money to do so. So it's so interesting hearing some of those shares there around, you know, feeling like I need to take the job that pays me for now rather than the thing that I really want to do because I need a financial security. And it made me think actually, like, wow, when you're living paycheck to paycheck, month to month, it's really hard to have this abundance mindset that people are thinking about when you're just trying to survive.
And I think it comes back to a few things for me is, one is like how much anxiety this causes. So a lot of it was about, I don't want to worry, I don't want to feel guilty when I'm on holiday. But also that short-termist view when we're trying to make, and sometimes we have to be short-termist, right? I've got to pay the mortgage. I've got to pay the bills. This has been an expensive month. My car broke. My boiler broke, to that example. But also when we get stuck in that short-term spending, and we've talked about it before, I get really frustrated. We spend so much of our time in the world of startups and fundraising, and there's this myth that like all founders should be really hungry, should just be like living off cornflakes, have no money. And actually, I don't think I do my best thinking when I'm hungry, financially or otherwise.
Of course not.
I definitely don't do my best shopping when I'm hungry at Sainsbury's. I'm not buying the healthy food. I'm buying the quickest high calorie release stuff that's sweet and salty and just giving into cravings. And I think the same thing happens with our finances. Often when we're most worried about it, we're almost so stressed that we make really poor financial decisions. And those might be things like, actually, I'm not even going to look at my bank balance before I go and do this thing. And then afterwards, I'm going to worry about it. And then we really worry about it. And I'm someone who can be quite financially avoidant. I don't like looking in my bank account or my company cash flow because I get anxious, like, what if it's not good? What if I've got to fix it? I'm really working to get out of that because A, it's often not as bad as you think it is. And B, even if it is, way better to know that now than make it worse and ostriching in it. So we want to unpick so much. And just to be clear, up front in the episode, neither of us are financial advisors. So this is not financial advice. FCA don't come for us. But what do we want to start with? Which I kind of actually, I think we loved those street interviews so much. Like maybe let's pick one by one. Should we start with the worry about something breaking, the boiler breaking?
So growing up, I think I read a book called Profit First, which talks about this concept of like when you get paid, the first thing you should do is separate your money into like buckets. And I think old school people used to have envelopes where they'll literally take money out of the bank, put it in an envelope and save it for, let's say, an emergency fund, a rainy day fund. Just that there's money that's been almost like put aside for all of my monthly costs. So I know anything left in my account is what I have to play with, you know. And I love that concept because it's almost like, all right, pay the important things first and then use the remainder of what you have. So if you're not the greatest with maths or with managing money, if you just put aside all of the things that you need to pay off on a monthly basis, then you know what you're left to play with. So I think in the early days when I was getting used to managing my own money, that was probably the type of concept that really helped guide me on actually how to separate the bills and the costs of living first and then spend the rest and the remainder on what I have if I want to buy an extra shirt, for example.
And I think it's also something that you touched on there is I think having that kind of emergency fund. And I think it's such an important thing for so many applications, right? Your emergency fund, like right now we're seeing big redundancies. How do you take some pressure off there if you're able to? How do you maybe use that emergency fund to make a big scary career leap because you know you've got 6 months of runway personally, all of these things. But I think also it's about how do we get out of this space where it's feeling so tight.
I think that's quite hard as well. Like I think when I think about the financial hierarchy of needs, if you like, at the very bottom is like, do I have enough after a month to say that I can put some money into savings? Like if I can't do savings and budgeting, then I'm literally not even earning enough to support my life and my living costs. And that's a really hard place to be in, you know. Everyone can give you advice, you know, like learn courses, learn AI, but it's not easy and it's not practical for everyone. Not everyone's in that same circumstance. So I think it's really hard when you're in that situation, feeling the pinch and feeling like I don't know how to operate from within this to earn more so that I can start saving.
I think as well, as someone who I think is sometimes bad at, like, it's not exciting to save, right? But my vintage purchases are very exciting. So I think there is also an element about how do we make ourselves, like, what is the thing that we're saving towards making it exciting? To this point about, and like making it matter. So how am I saving so that I can take the time off and not worry? I loved that one so much. The idea of like almost how much finances stop us being present. I think someone else said about, you know, even when we're feeling financially stressed, we need the freedom to not be checking our bank account before we make plans. And I think there's so much in here. I want to talk a little bit about how our money mindsets get formed as well, because I think there are distinctions between you have the money, you don't have the money, you're earning enough to set aside, you're not earning enough to set aside. And to your point, I think that we can help to a point, but I think that's maybe not where we can add the most value, because, you know, it comes to a point of, okay, you either need to go and change your job if that's an option that's open to you. Can you upskill? Can you find another lever to pull that you make more money, or cut your savings, cut your costs? But there are limits to where we can help there. But I think maybe some of the things that we wanted to unpick a little bit were about how financial mindsets form and then potentially hold us back when it's not just that binary case of like, I just don't have enough money to do it.
Yeah, I think back to like growing up, like my parents, I was very aware, migrated from Ghana to the UK to London. So from a young age, I felt very grateful and privileged that I was born in London. And I didn't have to go through what they went through growing up in Ghana. And, you know, I was just very aware. It was very apparent to me that even if I had high potential, but I was in Ghana, I probably had low access to opportunity, whereas because I'm born in the UK, I've got access to such great opportunity, from education to actual job and employment opportunities. So from a young age, I was just very grateful, you know. So it meant that, like, seeing my dad work really hard, even as a cab driver, and my mum work really hard as a nursery nurse, I didn't want to take the mick with money, because I know how hard it was for them to earn that money and to spend it. So then, even as I went up in social class from working class to middle class, I really still struggled to upgrade my lifestyle or inflate my costs, for better and for worse. For worse, because some people probably thought I was a bit of a tight ass, right? For better, because at least I was like humbly spending, saving, not inflating my lifestyle costs just because I'm earning more. So it allowed me to save. And I think the thing that really allowed me to save more in my younger years was having a goal. You mentioned that, like, I'm saving towards something. The first big thing was I'm saving towards going backpacking with 3 months in South America. And then the sense of achievement and pride I got in, like, wow, I saved a couple of grand. That's the most I've ever saved in my life.
And then you're funding
I feel
this
so
incredible
proud.
adventure.
And then I'm like, I can do that again. And the next one, I think, was like a property purchase or something big. And I was like, oh my gosh.
But that was actually building towards financial freedom, right? Because it wasn't a property that you were going to live in.
No, it wasn't it's not a property that I was going to live in, and it's a property that I've had for over 10 years and I haven't seen with my own eyes till today.
That's mad.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And so tell us a bit about that, like, mindset of why, how old were you? Because also you went about it in an interesting way with friends. I actually think there's like a lot to unpack maybe in that example around different ways to look at what everyone else is doing and different ways to get into stuff that feels maybe inaccessible?
Do you know, I call it my first failed leadership story. Because I went backpacking at 21. By the age of about 23, I saw that I had a number of friends who were working also in professional services jobs. So they were working at banks, working at accountancy firms, working at media companies, but working in good jobs. So I rounded about 9 of us up, and I created this group called PIP, which stood for Passive Income Pentagon. And it's meant to, like, basically, it was meant to touch on, like, different aspects of life, from, like, relationships to careers to entrepreneurship to investing. There was, like, 5 things that it was meant to, like, help and support us on. And I had this idea on, like, okay, let's save, like, 200 and something pounds a month, and let's do it to a degree where we can invest in a property up north, like in Liverpool or Manchester. And at the time, I was so immersed into property networks. I was reading books. I was listening to podcasts. So I learned a lot in a short space of time, within about 2 years.
And you're enjoying that learning as well?
I loved the learning.
That's maybe making the process feel more fun.
Because of the goal and what we're trying to attain, the learning was a means to an end.
Interesting. But you were still enjoying the journey.
But I enjoyed it. I loved it. Yeah. And I loved it to a degree where I felt like I could do this. So it gave me a sense of belief that we could really do this. And we end up saving around like £40,000, which is very significant at that age and at that stage of life. And then one of my friends said that basically he needs to withdraw the money. Like, he needs his money back. And obviously there's a friendship here, so of course I'm going to give it back. Then another friend followed, and another, and before I knew it, that money was depleted to just my brother and I. So we said, you know what, we've learned all of this knowledge, let's put a bit more of our savings on top, and let's purchase this property through a property sourcer, so someone who, like, finds properties for you. And we found one in Manchester, and that was our first purchase about 14 years ago now, and still have it till today. Not a single void month in 14 years. The rent has increased, like, significantly, like 150% since buying that property. And I haven't seen it with my own 2 eyes till today because of the systems and stuff that I set up back then.
But it's so interesting to me, you're already thinking at 23, like, how do I make passive income? And for anyone who doesn't know about passive income, it's like there's what's earning while you're not spending your time and attention in the same way on it.
It's almost like, why was my mindset like? I think when I went backpacking, I started reading a lot of books. Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And they were all, like, expanding my mindset in an American way around, like, there's opportunity out there. So I think they were the initial, like, I think books that open up my mindset to think, actually, like, profits are better than wages. You're never going to get to where you want to get to in life just relying on your income from a job. And that concept is what led me to be like, all right, I've got to invest into stocks and shares. I've got to invest into property. But I've got to learn enough before I invest. And because I had the responsibility of all of my friends doing this with me, it was even more important that if we're all going to collectively take a risk, that I've got to know, I've got to understand the risk that we're taking.
So interesting. And, like, so it strikes me again how, like, these, like, different forces, like, it's, and I think so much of this episode, not this episode, but this podcast is about some of the things we spend a lot of time reflecting, and then you can kind of unpack where the red threads are for your life and what informs. And I think what we hope is that other people start listening and think, oh, what's that for me? Because I think looking back, I really think my relationship with money has changed so much and also stayed the same in some really cool things.
What was it like when you were younger?
I think, so growing up, we were definitely, like, money was often a thing that I knew my parents were worried about, in the sense of, like, they were working hard to make opportunities and make things happen, and it definitely wasn't, you know, like, no one was in a well-paid job. My dad was a vicar and my mum was a teacher. So we were not working class in the sense that we had, you know, we lived in a nice rural village and we had these amazing opportunities, but it was always a little bit, like, I knew that there were times when it was like, oh, I really hope the garage waits to check this check until next month. And which is, you know, normal for, like, loads of people.
But it's why the scholarship was so important
it's
for
why,
you. If I don't get that.
Well, and so, and but I also think my so a couple of stories on that. So when I was 11, so when I was younger, I went to state school, good school, got quite bullied, and it really knocked me And the bullying was quite, it was just quite insidious. It was like very girl bullying, like, you know, you'd go into the playground and someone would like sniff your hair, and if you were wearing like if you'd shampooed with the wrong shampoo, like they'd tell you like no one could talk to you that day. It was all like very weird and very like psychological.
I don't know why, I just have a really basic view of like a village just being together, small, tight-knit community, but these things happen everywhere,
yeah, they
isn't
happen,
it?
right? And so, you know, I spent a lot of my time at school feeling like very different, not feeling like I fit in, like not feeling like I was, I really struggled. I found my report the other day and it kind of said like year 6 I had to do a better job of making friends. I really resented that reading. I was like, I was trying so hard to make friends for so long, like, but I just, there was always this like, I don't know, I found it really hard. And so I think, you know, my mum had, you know, had me crying most nights and had like thought about trying to change my school before, but, you know, it was really hard. And so when I got to 11, we were all going to this like new big state school. And I think there was just this like fear for me of like, I'm just going to be with the same people. And I'm just going to be really miserable. And there wasn't really another local state school option. So it was like that or... And so there were some local private schools, and one of them, my brother was like moving schools at the same time, and so they were looking at that school. And so we went to that school, and basically my brother was able to sit a scholarship exam because he was older, and they did scholarship exams for the older kids, and he got a scholarship. And so that was really helpful for him to go there. And we also got support for being sons and daughters of the clergy. There's like a charity that helps you, which was amazing. And so we got all this like financial support, but for me there was still this gap of like I didn't have a scholarship and you couldn't apply for one. But I took the entrance exam, and because you're 11, my school had a really nice policy where they don't tell you there's a scholarship up for grabs, but if you do well enough they'll give you one. Wow. So it's like they don't want to put the pressure on 11-year-old. It's already pressure enough like doing exam at 11. And so I got a letter to say you've got a scholarship for, you know, chunk of your tuition for, you know, creative writing that I'd done in my thing. And so I always felt really, really grateful for these opportunities. I always knew they were really hard fought for. And then later, when I was going into sixth form, I loved my school. Like, I had an amazing experience at school, and I really wanted to stay. Then in sixth form, they kind of didn't really do the same scholarships. My parents definitely hadn't budgeted to do sixth form because there was a really good local state school for sixth form. But all my friends were staying. I love the school so much. And I was like desperate to stay. And so my mum went, and I found out this like in hindsight, right? But so she went and just like absolutely went to the school, went to the headmaster and was like, look, I know you want to keep Hattie. You know you want to keep Hattie. Help me help you. And like basically had this whole discussion with them, negotiated a ton, came back and told me, you've got your scholarship for sixth form, you can stay for sixth form. What she didn't tell me, it was completely dependent on my grades. But she didn't want me to have that pressure. She knew me. She was like, you're already putting enough pressure on yourself. You don't need to be worrying about the money side. So she just told me you've got the scholarship. That is already in the bag. They've agreed to it.
And you just happen to maintain those grades.
Well, I think, you know, she didn't have to worry about it because I was very, like, locked into getting my grades. I really wanted to...
And you're on a good trajectory.
Yeah.
So she knew she didn't have...
Yeah.
It wasn't like a corrective conversation.
It was going to, it was going to make me get in my head about it. And so...
And how did this make you feel about money, the fact that you got a scholarship once, you're getting it again?
I think like, there was always this, like, sense of, like, oh, gosh, like... I really hope I can stay. So it was always like this, like, don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I think I appreciated it way more because I knew that I was there because I had charity supporting me and I had this kind of scholarship, and I was very, very grateful for that.
Did anyone treat you different because of that in terms of other students?
No, I really didn't ever get that feeling, and was really lucky in that. I think some schools, like, you're a bursary kid and it feels really different. Like, I never got that sense.
That's great.
And so, so I was really lucky. I had a great time. But I think, you know, from then on I went to university. And in university I was in a completely different financial position because suddenly, because I was, like, below the level, like, I got a nice maintenance grant. I had all this, like, money to manage. Like,
back then you had all of that.
And
it changed, actually.
Yeah, I think it has too. And I got a bursary because we were getting under the income threshold. So my uni gave us some money, and I was working really hard in the holidays, so I suddenly had money to manage.
You were uni balling them times.
But so I saved loads because I had that mentality of, like, I'm scared, I'm going to save. And I actually did
so
really...
you didn't feel like I want to splurge and spend.
No,
You're like,
I was still
I'm scared,
really...
I want to save. I know where I've just come from, where I've come from.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to, like, just to be, you know, we were so lucky and we were always like amazingly provided for, and it was, yeah, but I definitely had this like mindset of like, you are sensible with money, like don't take the mick.
Yeah.
But the other thing I think that had like really been instilled in me growing up was like, we didn't have like loads of money. We were like lucky and we were always taken care of, and like parents did the most that we could have amazing things. And
you always had clothes in your back, food in the fridge.
Like and more, like we wouldn't definitely not, like we were really, really lucky.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
But I think the other thing is, I definitely observed people who were in financially completely different positions, who were far wealthier as families. And I benefit a lot from that, having friends who can take you on amazing trips and do all sorts. And you do always feel a little bit aware that you're like there as a guest on something you couldn't afford to like pay back if you wanted to. But like also super grateful that you.
But they didn't make you feel.
No.
Or treat you differently. No. That's so nice.
No. And just really grateful.
Yeah.
But I think what it did instill in me is this like very, very deep sense: money does not buy happiness. Because
you saw that side.
I saw family dynamics where money was actually becoming a stressor in the family, not an alleviator, right? Because I think there is this trap of like, once we earn a certain amount, I have to maintain my lifestyle and I have to be keeping up with the Joneses and I have to be earning. And then often when you're earning at certain levels, maybe you don't have the same level of presence with your family, or you know, there's a sense that you can kind of gift as a substitute for quality time. And I think, you know, I always got like the deepest sense that as a family unit, like it was exceptional. And I think for me it was this really real sense of like the family is always okay. Like if there's ever a bit of like, can we afford this, how can we make it work? Again, A, the mentality was like, how can we make this work? But B, it was this really deep sense that like that's not what matters anyway. And we were and this is where I want to be like clear, like we were in a luxury position that we like had enough money that like we weren't about to, and we got loads of lucky breaks as well, with like people were very kind to it. Like we've always been able to like rent beautiful houses because we somehow like got way below market rate. Like so we've had, you know, very kind people have been amazing, all sorts, but we were definitely never in a position where like there are like you know, you can be in a very different scenario where you're having to work to make up the basics at a number of hours that mean that you can't be there for your kids when you want. And that's I want to be like very clear that that's a different scenario. But I think there is like on the flip side a point where people just like feel the need to keep up. And for me, it led to the question like, well, what's enough? And that has been something I've been looking at a lot more recently, because I started my own company, and when I did that, you're back in like financial fear zone. And I like some of my old traits about like I actually became really financially avoidant because I wasn't actually in some ways like used to managing money in that way.
It's a different way of managing money once you're managing for an
different
entity that you're calling a company, which impacts you directly because it's your business, especially at an early stage where the two feel like one and the same.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, it shaped a lot. But it's really interesting to me now. And like to your point, that one of the books that influenced me was a book called Company of One.
I've heard of it. Which
basically argues what we're really good at doing is moving the goalposts, often financially, in like, how do I grow this thing so it's bigger and I have more money and we have more people and we're growing. And actually the question we should be asking ourselves, like, what is enough? Because there is a tipping point beyond which growing something doesn't always make us happier.
Agreed.
And so for me, this financial mindset thing, to kind of come back, there's so much about like, how do you untangle your relationship with money and what forms it, where you are with it today versus whether you're being short-termist or actually like building for the future you want, but also knowing that it's really easy for it to feel like the answer is always more. And actually acknowledging that when you reach a certain place of stability, and that's what I loved about the examples in the street interviews. They were not, I want to own a pool, I want to have a mansion, I want third space membership. You know, it was, I want to be able to not worry when the boiler breaks. I want to be able to go on holiday and not feel guilty that I'm not working financially. I want to be able to make friends with plans and not check my bank balance.
It's like
and choose the work that, you know, drives me because I have that choice.
So I had one of those friends who said, by the time I'm 30, I want to make my first million. It was a thing for this person, but he didn't make that million by the time that he was 30. And when I sat down with him and I broke down his ideal lifestyle, I went line by line. You have the premium gym membership at David Lloyd's, £200 a month. You know, you're renting a premium flat in the middle of London, like 5k a month. Like, we went down line by line, and it costed up to about 130,000 after tax. And I mean, going on holiday to Mauritius twice a year. Like, we threw in a lot of luxuries into his ideal lifestyle. After tax was 130,000. That's a far difference from $1 million. And in there was like, he wants to be able to save a certain amount of money each month and invest each month and put some in a pension. And it still came to about 150k max. And I think it goes to show, like, when you actually budget and do the exercise, your ideal lifestyle probably doesn't cost as much as you think it does.
Or like, when you get to a certain point, you just start adding stuff, and then it starts, you know, like...
Is it necessary?
Yeah, or like, is it actually going to... You know, we were talking over lunch, like, about you're doing a kitchen renovation. We're talking about, you know, what would you want in a kitchen? I was like, honestly, I just, like, dream for me is, like, I have a house with a sofa in the kitchen. Like, I was like,
that's so simple, isn't it? That's achievable.
I get it's achievable, but also I think...
Like, I'd love to be mortgage free.
Yeah, okay. So this was what I was going to say, is, like, what does financial freedom mean to you? Because I think the examples were so good. What's your version?
Feeling like I consistently don't have to worry about money. I don't have to worry about that holiday. I don't have to worry about if something breaks, like the boiler. I don't have to worry about extra support that's needed for my child, so it means that I'm not going to work tomorrow. That last one is probably the pinnacle of it for me.
I love that.
Oh, my son is sick. I need to take 2 days off. I can afford to do that. I can do that. That's fine. You know, that is really empowering. That's a dream life for me, because I feel like when I get on my deathbed one day, I'm not going to ask for my investments. I'm not going to ask for another day at work. I'm not going to ask for money. I'm going to ask for more time with my loved ones. So if I can afford that luxury today, I'm going to optimize and do that as much as possible.
I love that. And what in your money mindset do you think will help you get there? And what do we need to, like, untangle to, like,
Great. This
get
is the
there?
financial coaching aspects now. I'm getting coached now.
Show me your bank statements.
The reason that I said mortgage free as the first one is because it's such a significant monthly cost. So once that is gone, that saving opportunity becomes significant, because now I'm no longer paying that monthly mortgage. So at a mortgage, right, for some people, it's anything from 1,000 through to thousands, right? So it's just a significant amount of money to be able to save. And when I think, what am I really saving for? It's to be able to afford the luxury of taking space and time off to think, to reflect, to be there with family, to do more of what I want to do, being in service to the world. And if money were not issue in my life, what would I be doing? I'd be doing more of what I'm describing. Spending time with my family, being in service to humanity through doing things that I love, like the entrepreneurship coaching that we're doing, right? Even if I weren't earning money, I still love that conversation. You still love that conversation. And I think those are clues you're in the right line of service.
Yeah.
You know, you're not even getting paid sometimes, and people are, at dinner tables are bouncing off business ideas with you, and you're diving right in and helping them, because that's just what we do. You know, same with the leadership work that we do, right? It's like, even if I wasn't getting paid or money wasn't an issue, I still love that dialogue and that conversation to help leaders be more human first in their interaction with their people, because of the influence that they have. So I feel like those are clues sometimes into, like, am I in the right line of work? Like, am I able to... And I think the hard thing along the journey, because people hear this advice, like, trust the process. It's really hard to trust the process depending on where you are in the process.
100%.
The more earlier I am in the process, when I haven't got things figured out, it's really hard to trust in it. And you're almost like in this constant dialogue with your higher self around, like, I'm saying I want to trust the process because I've got a vision of where I want to be. But I have to almost hold on to that vision of where I want to be while trying to make progress from where I am today. And there's not a clear roadmap or, you know, like, golden thread or predefined path that I can always pursue in order to get from where I am to where I want to be.
You've also not experienced it yet, so you don't even have that, like, lived memory of, like, this is how it's going to feel. Like, I often find that's hard with, like, goals that I haven't experienced. It's almost like I don't it's much easier for me to be like, I've done this thing before, I want to do that again.
Yeah.
And I know I can get there, and it's like a path that's trodden, and it's hard when you haven't been there.
And I think with the example I shared earlier with my friends and PIP, which sounds really strategic, I haven't actually been super strategic with my career or my life. A lot of these things have come from feeding my curiosity. Like the PIP thing came from feeding my curiosity from reading a book that led to me listening to these podcasts, that led to me having a conversation with friends.
Yeah.
You know, recently a friend was talking to me and asking me if I'd be interested in, he manages like music artists, but would I be a money manager or business manager to help their music artists with investing their money?
Oh, interesting.
And it's like, yeah, I would enjoy that. That was something that, but I told him I need to go and think about it. Even though my initial reaction is like, oh, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
I was like, let me think about it. But I think this is what happens when you feed your curiosity and have conversations. People start realizing what they can turn to you for.
Yeah.
And then over time, you can figure out, like, what can I monetize versus I can't. Like, I love swimming. I'm not trying to make money from swimming.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that.
and sometimes I think we put pressure on ourselves to be like, no, I need to find something that I'm passionate about and good at that I can make money from. And that's not always the case.
I think there's so much in there.
Especially when you're a knowledge worker. Swimming
Yeah.
and switching off and resting might be the thing that helps me have that idea in 2 hours' time that then actually...
And it's so hard to not be short-termist, right? Because again, so one of the things that comes to mind, we were at a barbecue on Sunday with some of the founders that we're currently running a program with, and they were saying, come to Jamaica. And I said, oh yeah, I'd love to. Like, I have to try and find a program to get me there. And one of them turned around and went, how do you go on holiday? Like, you can go on holiday without it being paid for through
That's
work.
almost like your money mindset.
And my money
coming out,
mindset is
yeah.
now like so tight because I have these amazing opportunities to live this lifestyle as well through work. In Japan next week, here in Ghana this week. Like, I couldn't even have conceived that. It's mad. And actually, I couldn't have conceived it a few months ago. It's beyond exciting. But then your mindset almost shifts of, oh, well, can I go there for work? Can I get paid to do that? What's the opportunity cost of taking that time off? And I really relate to that point of financial freedom is the having the holiday and switching off, and the making plans with friends. And one of the things that I think is financially really on my mind at the moment, and did an exercise recently around like what do I want to be true in 2026 related to finances and changing my mindset. And one of the things I really want to stop doing is being tight about when I go and visit friends abroad, because I have one of my best friends lives in Prague, one of my best friends lives in Guernsey, my brother lives in Bermuda, my dad's moving to France, one of my best friends lives in Ireland. And that, just to be clear, those best friends were not in order of love. I love you all. Before anyone gets sad. So already that's 5 countries where I'd love to be just going to see people, not even going on holiday, just like to see my... And those are, by the way, like 5 of my favourite people in the entire world. Live in different countries now. Damn them. But one of my big financial goals is that I can just... And I'm going to have a new niece or nephew. I'm not going to reveal on the podcast what it is yet. But in next year, and I'm so excited, and I want to be able to go and visit them. And
not worry
and
financially
not
about the
about
implications of that.
And just go as, you know... And that's a big goal, right? They live in Bermuda. I want to be able to fly to
Do you
Bermuda
think if you achieve that financial goal, that is enough? Or do you think actually because you're aspirational, you then think about the next goal?
I think I have 2 financial goals in mind. So that, I think, is my big short to medium term one.
Okay.
Second one for me is in a few years' time, don't know quite when it'll be at the moment, but in a few years' time, I would love to start a family. And the big thing for me is I love my work and I don't want it to die out while I'm starting a family. But I also have no idea how I'm going to feel about whether I want to be working in that period.
Yeah.
Like,
no idea.
My mum always used to tell me, like, oh, when you have a baby, you won't want to go back to work. I love what I do. Maybe I will. I don't know. And it's so tied to my identity. I can't imagine a world where I'm not obsessed by this stuff, but who's to say? And so what I really want to give myself is like the financial optionality that says I can choose, and that isn't tied to I don't have a partner at the moment. I don't know where they're going to be financially. So I want to be able to be in a position where I'm not dependent on someone else financially, and I can make the decision to work or not work, but to be with my kid as much as I want. And that not be a financial decision, that be about what's best for me and the kid and the family unit and whoever I'm with. That to me really matters. And so that's like a long-term one. of and the way I'm seeing it is, could I in 2 to 3 years time actually afford to pay myself a salary for a year without working a day? And then, if the business can sustain that, then it'll be fine.
Yeah. It's absolutely achievable.
But also quite audacious. Like,
It is
we talk
audacious.
about this of like audacious goals.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's almost like, if you're not wanting to be a billionaire, are you even ambitious?
Yeah.
And it just drives me
I remember
mad.
I told someone earlier this year that, like, I'm aiming for a monthly income and sustaining that same income for the next 15 years consistently, and they thought I was crazy. But I thought, yeah, it's enough.
Yeah.
That is absolutely enough for my family and I. And I noticed that, like, in the years where I've earned the most are the years that I've done the most tithing and given away money. Which shows me that I know where enough is.
Yeah, which is amazing.
I experienced enough and I started giving more away. So I'm like, yeah, I want to get into that space. It feels good to be able to do that and to be able to bless and support people in the way that I've also been blessed and supported along my way. Right. So
I think that's so
quick
true.
question, because
Yeah,
I was
tell me.
thinking this earlier when you were telling your kind of school story.
Yeah.
What was your first paid job, and how did you manage money back then?
Like proper job, like, because when I was younger I was like trying anything I could to earn money.
Like not working for a family member, but actually employed.
Fine. I worked as a waitress in a bar. I think it was my first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you find managing money that time? Did it feel empowering earning that? Did it
I
feel
loved
like
it. I
wasn't
loved
enough?
earning. It felt so good. It felt really good to, like, little things, be able to, buy my mum a better present that hadn't come from pocket money she'd paid me.
Yeah.
Right? That felt really good.
I don't know how you balance plates, but yeah, we're following.
Oh, I smashed an entire tray of champagne glasses, full of champagne, my first day of working at a wedding.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't ever put a new waitress on a wedding is my top tip.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. But it really, I think from then I've been addicted to earning money. And so the university I went to has a really strict rule that you're not really supposed to have a job while you're studying.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so during term time you're not supposed to have a job. And so to make it up to you, they give you like better bursaries because it's a well-funded university. They can make that trade-off.
Yeah.
But when I was in my second year, there were elected positions you could run for, one of which was bar manager. And it was like the only one you could earn money from, so I was like, going for that one. So I did that so I could earn money in term time. And then while I was doing that, which is another longer story, I met a founder, started working for his business on the side. Sorry to my college at university, I wasn't technically supposed to be doing that. But I was like really addicted to this idea of like having more kind of financial control and also like just being able to take some of the pressure off. Well, and I don't think it's like independence in the sense like I wanted to be stepping away. It was like I didn't want... I wanted to be able to like fund the nice things myself rather than putting pressure on...
Your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. My first job was paid job was working in the Tottenham Stadium football ground, working in the kit shop.
Interesting.
I loved it because it was right close to home. I could go home at lunch. It wasn't a regular job.
It's not your team,
It's just
though.
when games were on. Yeah, but I wasn't.
You're okay
I'm
with
not.
that?
I'm not so married to the game that I'm like,
okay.
Man U or die.
Okay.
Especially where Man U are today. So it was fine for me, and I loved football.
And what was your approach to the money that you were making?
It was savings. It was almost pure savings.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it just allowed me to save, and I find saving. I actually find it satisfying achieving a saving goal.
I need to get
Like that is like a birthday present for me. Like hooray! Like I saved this amount.
I think this is
I
also
feel
where
proud
we're
about
quite
that.
different. I think I'm quite like need immediate dopamine hit, versus you're quite good at long-term build
Play
up.
the long game. That's our family value. Yeah, like
I'm very short-termist.
It's a real big thing for me. Yeah.
So if people are listening and they're in your mindset, like they already think for the long term,
Yeah.
what would you challenge them on that they might? Because I think there are pros and cons to both mindsets, right?
Yeah.
Mine is I need to spend less money on Vinted, but there are pros to that mindset as well, in that you can be, a bit more financially present in the moment sometimes, and that might mean, I have friends who are some of my most financially responsible friends don't treat themselves and like struggle with a relationship around actually allowing themselves to buy themselves nice things. Like they'll do stuff with friends, but if it's for themselves, they find it hard to like treat themselves.
I think something that's screaming out to me is figuring out the ability of like how to make more money, how to create value that is rewarded in money. That is really hard. Like I don't want to make that out like it's easy.
Yeah.
It's really hard to think of a way like, what can I do with my skills to earn money?
Yeah.
Like we've figured it out in our profession that actually we can create these learning experiences that people are willing to pay for. We know how to sell to those people. So they pay us to deliver these learning experiences through workshops that we facilitate or programs that we design and
even then
deliver.
it's hard, right? Like neither of us have come onto this and gone, we've nailed financial security, there's no money worries, we've the businesses are exactly where we need them to be to fund us as we need. No. Like, this is hard. But to your point, like it's also really hard to even get to a point where I think we can both see it happening in the vehicles we've chosen.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes really hard to even see like what would get me there.
I think there's one thing as well around the kind of mindset around money where I feel like when I'm backed into a corner, I perform. When it's fight or flight, so when I see this really ambitious goal of like I want to renovate this home, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to cost so much money. I haven't got it all today.
Yeah.
But I back myself that everything is figure outable. Let's start figuring this out. And it even probably makes me make different decisions on work I say no to because I'm so focused on achieving that goal.
And we're going to do a whole episode actually on the power of saying no, because I think and what we say no to is so informative. I think the other thing that comes up for me a lot, so if anyone's in my boat, is how do you restructure how you do financial like assessment, like audit where you are today, and then also planning for the future. Like how do you make both those things feel better for your nervous system? Because I struggle with the fear of the like, what if it's worse than I think it is? What if I'm not as in control? And recently I've been trying to reframe it. It's like, okay, how am I going to feel if I go and look at my finances? Like the worst case scenario is like, I'm not where I want to be, I'm da-da-da. But then I've already taken one step in control, so that will feel good. Like I've already done this. I was talking this through with my ADHD coach, and she was saying, but there might be also, it's good that you can reframe, but there also might be an immediate nervous system hit, right? Of if you do look at it and it's not where you want it to be.
Yeah.
And actually, like, how can you then do some things that help your nervous system? And so actually I was looking at, again, comes back to our environment piece. Where am I going to do that financial work? How am I going to set up around it? So for me, it's like, if I'm going to look at my finances, I don't want to do it in my flat in a cold winter's evening, because I'm just going to feel rubbish.
Environment for you.
I'm going to go and try and find a cafe to sit in. It's going to cost me a cinnamon bun and a cup of tea, but that's worth it. Good trade-off. I will always spend my money on those. No one tell me I could cut those and buy a house, thanks. But I would go and look at those like little things. Can I see a friend afterwards? Okay, when I'm going to do it, what are the immediate steps I can take so that I feel like I'm moving something forward? Those little things I think are really helpful. But then for the longer term financial planning, what could I be doing? If you were coaching me and I said, okay, and I know I've told you I have the goals, and those are goals that I feel very emotionally tied to, so I think they will work for me.
I think that helps.
But how would you help me get there if I didn't yet? Let's say I've gone through. I wouldn't say I've enjoyed the process to get to those goals.
Yeah.
But
financial goals.
Yeah. Those the two I mentioned, the kind of seeing friends and family regularly, and the financial freedom around having kids and knowing what that actually will cost.
Yeah.
How would you help me if I came to you and said, Andy, like business is doing okay, not really saving, struggling to motivate myself to save because, it's okay.
Okay. So you've diagnosed a problem that you actually earn enough from the business, but you're not managed to save much of what you earn.
Yeah, okay, let's start there.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier this system that I learned from this book called Profit First, where when the money hits the account, the same way that you'll separate corporate tax and VAT, you start separating savings with that same discipline.
See, I like this one a lot.
It's called Hattie Added Tax. So we put it into the hat pot, and that becomes your saving pot.
Okay.
If it's too hard because it's you're not out of sight, it's out of mind, but because you see it, you'll touch it.
Yeah, it's true.
then maybe you need a trusted family member or friend that you transfer it to
Yeah.
in order for them to save for you, so you're not even seeing it.
Yeah.
So, you know,
that's nice.
back in the day, you had these like partner schemes or these saving circles.
Yeah.
Like you almost like create your own saving
Okay.
circle as a system to help you save because you're not seeing the money.
Nice.
My mum used to use me in that way, for
Oh,
example.
I love that.
Send it to me, I'll save. Send it to me, I'll save. Then send her back a bulk.
That's really nice.
Mm.
Okay, anything else?
It depends on what you're willing to sacrifice. Because
Yeah,
as
this
you were
is a good
talking, I was
one.
thinking, I haven't even shared that along the journey. Like there was 2.5 years where I didn't go on a single holiday.
Yeah.
My holidays were taking time off work and going for walks and going to the local park. I was willing to do that.
If that's COVID, Andy, it doesn't count.
It was pre-COVID, but I was willing to do that in service
Yeah.
of what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
The other thing that's true about me that might surprise people hearing this is that I'm not afraid to get a job. If financially I'm not able to graft and sell, then I would get a job if I had to get a job. If your issue was actually more on I'm not bringing in enough money instead of the saving side,
Yeah.
I'll then have a conversation to you about pricing and sales. Like actually, like could I support you with looking through your phone book and getting 5 to 10 people to recommend you to 2 people in their network who could be potential clients of yours.
I
Like
love
that is the type of work I'll do to try and get you to realize there's money on the table today that we're not realizing. And then I'll go back to everyone who's given you a recommendation, testimonial, feedback for doing great work, and I'll ask them for an introduction.
And if I don't, I love these. It's so practical and great. If I don't have a business, I have, like, I'm in
job.
employment or I'm looking for employment.
Yeah. I would think about what is the job that I would love to do that I can't do today. So for example, I might be a junior in a role in marketing,
Yeah.
but I'd love to get to like a paid marketing executive. I'd look at that job spec for the paid marketing executive, 2 or 3 of those, and I'll highlight what are the skills that I need to learn in order to be able to apply for that job. And then I'll have a conversation with my manager to see if that is available here for me to learn those skills. And then I'll look online and think about how can I relearn these skills. And my job now is actually to get those skills in order to be able to apply for that job in the next X months or years,
Love that.
you know. And with that kind of strategy of reverse engineering the jobs that I want to actually be able to do, you're actually making an investment in your future self. So even though you're not getting paid for it month to month right now, you're going to get paid for it in the future. So don't discount that time as like, I haven't got the time to do it. It's a waste of time. No, I need to earn right now. No, that investment is what we call strategy. Strategy is future revenue that you're planning today.
And I think you're right about that question comes back to you have to know what you're willing to sacrifice if you're in that space. I think there's so much in here. Time-wise, we need to slowly start to wrap.
There's stuff that you should never sacrifice, by the way.
Or tell us.
Like rest and sleep. Rest and sleep are important. The more you sacrifice that, the more it diminishes your health. The more you haven't got good health, guess what? The healthy man, 1,000 wishes that he makes. The sick man, there's 1 wish that he makes.
Yeah.
Right? So health and rest is non-negotiable. There's other things that are probably really important to you as a person that you probably shouldn't negotiate on.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, I love anime for switching off. So yes, I could cancel that subscription.
Yeah.
But that subscription really does a lot for my mental health. That is how I switch off. I'll sacrifice Netflix. I'll sacrifice ITVX. I'll sacrifice BBC. I'll sacrifice all of the other players to keep this one subscription to Crunchyroll to watch anime because it helps me switch off. And I want to use that intentionally because I think some people feel like, oh, entertainment and Netflix and all of these are all of the things that I need to sacrifice. For you, knowing yourself, maybe that's the one thing you need to keep.
So maybe this leads us to a nice journaling prompt about unpacking our relationships with financial freedom. That maybe there's almost like 3 parts to it, right? Part number 1 is where are you, like, what are the financial goals that would emotionally excite you enough to
I like that.
try and hit them? And try and be, I think, really trying to be specific and paint the picture as rich as you can. So not just I want to buy a house, you know, I want to be able to buy a house that has. When I was buying my flat, it was like, I want to buy a flat with a bath. Because as we've discussed...
Do you remember the feeling after you acquired the flat?
Well, yeah, financially, that was actually quite a complicated one for me.
But how did you feel emotionally? Like when the flat was bought, is now your flat, this thing that you've been saving towards, how did that feel?
I think, and this is
that what's complicated?
Well, yeah. So for me, the reason, so I had my own savings, which really helped. But I'd also inherited money because my mum died. And my mum had only been able to buy a flat. She bought a house when she was 57, 56 for the first time in her life. And partly because
That's
she...
inspiring.
Well, it is very inspiring. Part of the reason was actually because she caught a kind of cancer that was actually related to it's called mesothelioma, related to asbestos, and so you get a payout because you really shouldn't have died of that, and they're basically paying you out because it absolutely kills everyone. So it was a really complicated emotion for me of like, I love this house. Gosh, this is amazing. I live on my own.
Circumstances.
But I was like, I would trade it all in a second. And this is, I think, where the money thing is so clear in my head of like, I've inherited this money that's allowed me to buy a flat in London, like with my own savings. I bolstered it. My income at the time allowed me to get a great mortgage. Like there was definitely me in there.
Yeah.
But without that money,
and
I think this is, in some ways, it's really grounding because you kind of look at it and go, I'd happily not have a flat.
Yeah, but look, my dad, your mum, what would they want
but
for us?
But then I think
what would they want for us?
Yeah, but then I think also it's to your point of like, what do we sacrifice? I also think we need to be careful because we build emotional attachments to things that we've built. So like for me, the idea of ever losing my flat because I can't afford the mortgage or having to downsize is like I've lost money my mum gave me. And actually, I need to like let go of some of that when it holds me back financially, because she wouldn't want that.
But even that relationship with money is so interesting. Like, I don't think about, like, after my dad died, like, where's the spaghetti loops of his money that are traced in the same way that when I worked in this startup, where's the trace of the money that belonged to that start? Even with my wife and my family now, I treat all of the money that comes into our family as joint account. Is ours.
Yeah.
So whether you spend it or I spend it, we've spent it. You know, whether you're shopping for the kids, I'm shopping for the kids, we've spent it. And I have a different relationship with money now, more from the internal view of, like, it affects both of us when we make money and when we don't make money. It doesn't matter who works and who spends it. We made it and we lost it. You know, and we contribute to who made money and who spent money in different ways, even if we're not the direct person spending it.
Which, by the way, we could go into a whole other talk about, because I kind of think this is...
Well, relationships and money.
Yeah. But
it's complex,
It's super complex, but I actually just
everyone's got their own systems.
But I love the fact that, you know, just the feminist in me is loving that, like, actually you're valuing your wife's contribution rather than just being like, I'm the one earning, she's looking after the kids. Yeah, or I'm the one earning more, or you're earning more. It affects both. And there's so many indirect things that my wife does that enables me to show up as the best that I can be. 100%. Yeah. Even the person that I am today and what I do today and work, and I would never have become who I've become if not for that person in my life. So it's almost intangible in that way. But it's lovely that you value that, because I think sometimes with these intangible things we forget to value it. You almost we just take it for granted, right? Yeah. And actually what's lovely knowing you is that it's so clear to me that she does that because I know you. And I can see how you value that. So journaling prompt. Yes. You said one. Sorry. So let's repeat one again. It was good. Can you tell I go on side quests a lot? Okay. Number one was about your financial goals and trying to make them as tangible as possible. Yeah, be specific. Be really specific. That's where you went with the flat. Number two is around, okay, you've got those financial goals, like actually look at where you are today. And for the fellow ostriches among you, like me, I feel you. Let's make this a lovely nervous system experience if we can. Or better, nervous, maybe not lovely, but better. And then three is looking at where you can sacrifice and where you can earn more to get you there, but also within that defining enough so that we're not, so it's kind of four. Yeah. And hopefully, I know what is enough is such a beautiful question. Yeah. I feel like with money and these conversations that people have with money in public domains, we don't talk enough about what is enough. But I genuinely think the street interviews nailed it. The examples were achievable but audacious in the fact that... But they're relatable. Exactly. My boiler breaks down. We both felt them all. We were like, oh yeah, that would stress me out financially. I want those things. Yeah. Beautiful. Happy journaling, everyone.